Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world today. I hope you're having a beautiful day or a beginning of a beautiful day or the middle of a beautiful day. Sending you so much love. So we will begin by lighting the candle and setting our intention for this beautiful, blessed day. So I hope you all have been enjoying this empowerment leadership journey of awakening the new feminine paradigm. It has been so good, huh? So, lighting our intention. Today, my intention is soft power. Finding our treasures in our triggers. Mm, Turning our pain to our power, to our passionate purpose. Transforming our wounds to our wisdom so that we may manifest our most abundant life, a life of our wildest dreams. And so be it, and so it is. Lighting that fire in our hearts, in our belly, in our minds. We start to awaken consciousness and repattern the way that we think, the way that we view life, the way that we view ourselves, the way that we view others by coming together in events like this, where we hear from all these different new thought leaders on their perspectives, the way they see the world, their lens of perception, their thoughts, their ideas, their transmissions. It's so good. It it's been my journey. It's been my awakening journey on my spiritual awakening path of finding my alignment to my soul purpose, transforming anything that gets in the way so that I can develop, cultivate my superpowers, my life of my wildest dreams. And I've been consciously creating my world for the last 30 years. And I don't say this to brag, but I have everything I've ever consciously created, the soul path purpose partner, been married and with my partner now. Gosh, it's been 26 years. Got two beautiful children, live in my dream home by the ocean with the most amazing view I've ever seen in my life. And I seriously don't say this to brag, but to say that it is possible for each and every one of us. And wow, soft power. Let's talk about soft power. Buffy Owens, which is our featured speaker for today. I've decided for the rest of this summit, we will have one each day to focus our intention, our energy. And she talks about soft power. And I've been hearing it in other places as well. I've been hearing this thing about soft power, and I was like, oh, when I hear things three times, I'm like, okay, something's going on with this soft power. And the more that I, deepen into it, the more I understand that that is the awakening of the new feminine paradigm of leadership. How can we be strong but soft at the same time? And whew, it's not easy. It's like it's a spiritual practice. It's a mindfulness practice because, we can be really strong on one hand and then we can be a complete, doormat on the other. And there's somewhere in the middle that the soft power exists. And it's that way of being able to speak our truth and come from a place of power, but also be really loving, really kind, really soft. And when I get it, I feel so good. Like there's an alignment there. Like everything falls into place. People listen to what I have to say. Like it has a resonance that inspires. But and I've watched it because now I'm aware of it. This is the other thing about, transformation and bringing these new tools and new ways of being into your life. You're integrating, you're building new neural pathways. You're creating new patterns of being, right? So it takes a little while. And yeah, I've watched myself like do the soft power thing and I'm like, "Ooh, I love this. This is me. This is what I want to do. This is who I want to be." And then I've watched myself go out of that alignment and do the really kind of like, what have I called it recently? Pulling out the Wonder Woman lasso of truth, And I mean, there's a time and place for that. I'm not saying that we just throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like there's a time and place for the Wonder Woman lasso of truth. I mean, sometimes that's just needed. So I'm not dismissing all of the old ways, but perhaps maybe there is even, we're figuring out this new feminine paradigm of leadership. It's new. We're figuring it out. Maybe we won't even need a Wonder Woman lasso of truth where we're going. Wouldn't that be amazing? Yeah, soft power. Love it, love it, love it. So that's like my new mantra, soft power. You're going to love the talk with Buffy and I. It's so good. I enjoyed it so much. What I want to share with you today is a little bit of information from my Wounds to Wisdom Oracle book, guidebook here for emotional and spiritual intelligence that has gone to print, and I'm over the moon excited. So, this is triggers and treasures. Now, I made this up and I thought it was brilliant. It was one of those like, oh, triggers and treasures, and the treasures are found within our triggers. Because this has been my experience. Every time I've noticed a pattern, every time I get really triggered by either someone else or a situation or an event or anything, and I get really like, there's a trigger. What I've noticed is that when I pay attention, I mean, in that moment, it's very difficult. When you're in a trigger, anyone that has, unresolved childhood trauma and you get or even if it is resolved, you get triggered because even when you've resolved it, you can still get triggered. They say once all of that is healed, you won't get triggered. But yeah, I'm not so sure about that. I have worked through big stuff, gotten to the other side, been completely good and healed, and still had a trigger. And all of this stuff is still being investigated and studied, and like there's so many different theories. And so I am just referring to my own experience. And I have had triggers even when I've resolved my childhood trauma. So we all get them. Smells can trigger you, and they don't have to be negative. Like they can be positive triggers too. You can see a sunset or a sunrise and have this trigger of all these lovely, beautiful feelings and take you back from, a time where you just really were happy. Like there's so many different types of triggers. But I have noticed that when I'm aware and sometimes I have to reflect, but there's always, always, always a treasure. And this way of seeing them, feeling about them is so helpful. So, this is a chapter in my Wounds to Wisdom Oracle Spiritual and Emotional Guidebook that's just gone to print that oh God, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. It's my life's work. And I want to share this with you because it's so important to start to observe. Start to observe when you get triggered. And then you can just like be really curious. I invite you to be really curious. I'm like, oh, when you're ready to go there. Oh, okay. I wonder what treasure's there for me. It's the silver lining. It's the positive psychology of being able to take whatever you feel is negative and turn it into a positive. It's all well and fine to live in our safe, beautiful bubbles of love and light and, put up boundaries and keep toxic people out and but if you do that too much, like if you just live in this like safety bubble, then there's no resilience that's built. And it's a very lonely place, like, because then you just end up being in this little island unto yourself because there's probably so many toxic people out there that you can't. So then you keep everyone out and then you're just like in this like small bubble of you and a few people. And then those people end up being out too. And like instead, I mean, it is good to have boundaries. I'm not dismissing boundaries. However, if you can start to realize that these people or situations that trigger you are your teachers, are gifts, are friends, it's helpful. So let me just read. Bear with me. I know some of you are like, not sure about this, Schamet. Our psychological triggers are sacred messengers from the depths of our being, calling our attention to past wounds and unhealed traumas. When triggered, we are invited on a sacred journey of self discovery, unveiling the hidden treasures buried deep within our psyche. The Oracle's message: your triggers are like keys to long forgotten chambers of your soul, holding the potential to unlock deeper self awareness, compassion, and wisdom. You are invited to see your triggers as your treasures, which can help you mirror the truth of every situation and relationship, offering honest feedback and guidance so that you may heal. So, these are potent portals to your healing journey, to your transformation. And I just recently got really triggered this last week, producing the summit and I just witnessed myself because now I'm very aware. I mean, I write about it. I've got to practice what I preach, right? It's part of my spiritual journey, my unfolding, my healing, my metamorphosis. And so I'm sitting with this trigger and I'm like, okay, what are the treasures? Like just getting really curious, like, okay, what am I meant to learn? And it set me upon a whole like hall of mirrors and healing journey that helped me grow. And I'm so grateful for the people in my life that trigger me because they are the people that help me grow, become stronger, become wiser. And when I notice that when I do get these triggers, it's activating my blind spot, the parts of me that I'm not aware of, that I don't see, like the parts of me that are in the shadow. And then I'm like, oh, there's that. Okay. Okay. A little bit more work to do. That's all right. This is what the transformational healing journey is like. It's not a once and done. I love that. That's from Joanna Lindenbaum, one of my mentors. Like she's always like transformation journey. It's not a once and done. Some of our greatest philosophers like Socrates and Albert Einstein, they say, the more I know, the less I know, because there's an unraveling. There's always more to learn. And yeah, I felt intuitively called to come on here and talk about triggers and treasures because I feel like so many people are trying to create a safe space. And I get it. Like, that's really, really important. Anna Dea Judith talks about, planting seeds in a pot. And you plant the seeds in this pot and you watch the plant grow. And that plant needs, enough water, enough sunlight, but not too much. And like every plant, too, depending on if it's a cactus or if it's like a fern, will need different things. And so you figure out what you need in order to grow and be healthy. And part of that is having, you know, uh, a really beautiful foundation of support and love and safety and nourishment and all the good things and people in your life that boost you up and not abuse you and be toxic and boundaries are very, very important. However, at the same time, with that being said, Tony Robbins, which I think is an amazing mentor of mine, also talks about if we build too many boundaries, they're like walls that keep people out. And, he's all about not having this like safe space and, being boundaried up because it creates walls, it creates rips, it ends relationships. I think there needs to be a balance. And I've been witnessing that in my own psychology, in my own life, in my own experience. That if we create this bubble, it can be isolating and it can keep out the people in your life that you really do love that are, still struggling with their wounds and their shadows and their pain. And hurt people. And so I'm still working with this myself on how to have the boundaries, but also to be open to the spiritual path and the journey of understanding that within my triggers are my treasures and my growth and my transformation. And let's face it, if we lived inside of a really safe bubble, there's no growth there. It's safe, but how are we going to keep growing and how are we going to connect with others that are in different places in their life if we keep building these walls? And I say this with great love. And it's something that I feel passionate about. Like we can't send all these people to another planet. And, another thing is like, is all this talk about, oh, that's a narcissist and that's a narcissist and that's a blah, 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 blah. Like, again, those are judgments and walls. And those labels, by the way, those are for trained psychologists that have years and years and years of education and knowledge because it's a very big blanket statement to make in diagnosing. I mean, I'm going to school for psychology, and one of the first things we learn is that you do not diagnose people. You can have your feelings and your theories, but you're not allowed to diagnose until you have the credentials to do so. And it's just flippant these days of, oh, And what does it do? It divides, it separates, even if someone is a narcissist, if you understand what that means, this person has wounds, like deep wounds that haven't healed yet. And I believe that they can heal. And, we're discovering more and more about neuroplasticity. And, anyways, I digress. I'm going on another tangent, but I just want you all to understand that it's important to keep coming back to love, coming back to the heart as much as we can, not judging, not labeling, not causing more separation, having boundaries, but coming back to that soft power. And so, this is my intention for this week, for my life, actually soft power and finding my treasures in the triggers and thanking the people that come into my life that give me these moments of truth, unveiling, and being able to see my own blind spots. And, Emmy Mutali, she talked about this a little bit. Another speaker that you're going to have tomorrow, Lygia, she talks about this as well. It's been brought up a few times, finding and I think Katya talked about this as well. So it's poignant, it's important, it's like, yellow highlight, being able to cultivate sovereignty and resilience and to be an empowered new feminine paradigm leader is to be able to find those treasures in your triggers and to embody the soft power. And I will leave you with that. I hope you have a wonderful, beautiful, blessed day. So much love and so many blessings upon your spiritual awakening journey. Mm. Mwah. Mm.